Now we'll start the second segment, where we go to see the smartphones and everything. And mainly we will be seeing the design aspects, how smartphone has evolved from a long-standing point where initially we had those feature phones and we moved to smartphones, and it kept on evolving to a point where I think today it has reached a saturation level. Even the models which are releasing only have minor tweaks, or even the processors minor updates. Android, even we don't see that much update. Even the iOS, only recently we have seen that AI updates, or AI what they were pushing out. So here we have seen how Steve Jobs initially he had during his iPhone launch event, where he had showed all those keypad phones, where we had the QWERTY keypad like BlackBerry and all those phones, and how he told where they wanted to innovate so much that they wanted to remove this whole keypad, and they wanted an entire display over there, and they wanted to do whatever they could with those displays. And there we also see how they have innovated so much, and they have completely changed that segment, and they bought a new uh, type called smartphones, and which changed completely how we live life. Why is this smartphone not evolving? Or why is premium phones really a necessity, or what do you call a premium phone?
Mm, to answer that question, it is quite tricky because you know everyone views it a bit differently.
Hmm.
Because what's actually premium?
Yeah.
So I think the majority would agree on this. Something like if it's a particular price, the price would be like maybe 40 or 45,000, and above that threshold, it would be considered premium, right? And you asked if it's actually necessary, right?
Yeah.
Well, if it's to the common man for just usual social media
Day-to-day
consumption,
tasks.
yeah, the day-to-day use, a premium smartphone is not at all a necessity. Because when you think about it, all you do is just browsing, maybe Googling stuff, watching YouTube. Any smartphone could just play a full HD video, right?
Yes.
Like it doesn't really require much hardware
No.
for that. And you're watching Instagram.
Hmm.
For those basic needs, we absolutely don't need a premium smartphone. The premium becomes a necessity only to people who would use it to the full potential. You know,
Yeah, maybe like content creators.
yeah, like even the cameras. The
Yes.
premium smartphones actually have really good cameras right now.
Yeah.
Like if we
Yeah.
compare it to smartphones that were released maybe like 5 years ago, it's a huge leap,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a
Exactly.
huge leap. Even the iPhones, they've like from 5 years ago, if we compare, what was the iPhone 5 years ago? 10?
Not
Uh,
10. It would be 11.
11, yeah.
Yeah, 11, I think.
11, if we compare it
From
to that.
how we used to,
12. 12.
we carry that DSLR to now we have that entire
Yeah,
thing in
because
the smartphone.
previously we used to mock people who would say that I just need my smartphone, I don't need a DSLR.
Yeah.
But we've come to a point where it's actually kind of true. Like, you don't need a DSLR. Like, you
Yes.
could almost do everything in the smartphone,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I mean, DSLR has its advantages,
Yes.
that's true. But yeah, and that's all in the premium. That's the only, I wouldn't say that's the only thing, but that's mostly where the premium comes into play, right?
Yeah. And
Like,
also the look and feel of the device. That also plays a very important
yeah.
role. Yeah, I also feel that we watch all sorts of things on our phone,
Hmm.
and with all this content and everything, uh, this is premium phone really a necessity for people, or should a common person have that? Because here we also look at where the mid-range phones people have, and people use it for this gaming like PUBG, Call of Duty, all those. And these gamings are really intensive. And many of the people have that, but this good chipsets are not there in that price point. Yes, yeah, that's one gap I feel.
Well, I wouldn't say. I think the Snapdragon 7 series is
It's
it's
decent.
decent. Yeah, it's not. We can't compare it to the 8 series, right? Because
That is actually built for those flagship
yeah,
phones.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
the purpose of that 8
yeah.
series is to cater the needs of the maximum performance demands.
Mm.
But when it comes to the 7th gen also, I think it's a very pretty decent performing chipset. Like we can
Yeah.
also play all these titles, not
I mean,
at its fullest capacity, like the highest graphics, the most amount of frames in
yeah,
the games.
we'll still be able to achieve the smooth gameplay.
Yes.
Very minute stutters, we would face that, yeah. But if we take a game like Genshin Impact, there's this game called Genshin
Yes.
Impact. Okay, that's actually really heavy on the smartphone.
Yeah.
So when it comes to games like Genshin, then the mid-range smartphones won't perform like because uh, I don't think it even runs properly.
Yeah, it's a very
Yeah,
demanding
demanding
title.
game. That's what. Yeah. So the mid-range, yeah, it's not really ideal for gaming, and that's true.
And also, I think for the AI integration that is happening nowadays, and also for the camera processing, it all requires higher, cores like clock speeds, and all those technologies are only available in the flagship chipsets, like what Apple offers, or say the Google Tensor and Snapdragons, and also Dimensity. The MediaTek is also coming up pretty good now.
I mean, MediaTek used to be a company that was frowned upon, because
Yeah,
people never wanted to trust their chipsets.
and their processors were heating, I think.
Yeah,
Mm,
back in the day, it was a bit problematic to own a MediaTek device.
yeah.
But nowadays, their Dimensity chipset, it's
Yes,
actually pretty decent. Like can directly compete with Snapdragon.
sure. I think Snapdragon paved the way for that.
Yeah.
Their high royalty prices.
And even I heard something like Snapdragon, the H-N processors, they charge a really high premium
Yes,
to
yeah,
the manufacturer, right?
yeah.
So it kind of pushes them to lean towards Dimensity.
Dimensity, yeah. And also, I think a recent launch of the Vivo X200 Pro series, they are also using the MediaTek Dimensity one, and it also offers like almost near the performance, but not really the same as the 8 Elite,
Yeah.
because that I think it surpassed 3 million in Antutu score.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
Okay.
and this one also comes near
Uh-huh.
with its. I think it's 25 lakh or
Uh-huh.
something. So it's getting there. Yeah. But the best is still the king, the crown goes
Yeah.
to
But then again,
Snapdragon.
like coming back to your question, is it actually a necessity? That's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
not everybody needs it, right?
not.
Because uh, you said the innovation, like there are not much changes. We don't see
Happening.
much change in a smartphone. Like each year we get we got an S23 last year.
Yes.
We got an S24. We get an S25. Now the I feel like the companies, even the iPhones, I feel like they're just doing like it's a new year. We should release a new smartphone. So
Yeah.
they're just releasing
Yeah.
smartphone.
It has become
Like
some kind of a mandate
yeah,
thing for
yeah,
them.
that
And
they
have to do that. Something is
yeah,
pushing them.
and the thing is, we're not really getting much of a difference. Like a slight performance boost, maybe a different camera arrangement,
Yes. Yeah.
and the design overall it doesn't change much. And I think the smartphones are like stuck in that stage, right, for the past
Yes.
couple of years.
It has
And
been stagnant.
mm,
But I think the latest big update which came was those flip phones or the foldables, which we had. Design wise, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that or you want to add or something? Well, yeah, I think the flip and fold technology has also come a long way
Mm.
from its like from its existence point to the development phase, and now I think it is really refined and polished. The user experience that a fold gives, like when opening it, really feels like a tablet now, which is usable for multitasking and productivity and stuff. So you have a phone and a tablet. And a tablet. Yeah, like yeah, really powerful. It's really useful. Yes.
It is useful, but then again, it's also in a niche
Yeah,
category, right?
obviously, yes. It's
Not
a
everybody would
go for it.
prefer that.
Yes. Yeah. And so
Flip
Yeah.
phones is actually very tricky again because it is also it doesn't have many advantages for itself to speak of, like unlike the fold. And I think it's all based on the taste of people. Like some people, they like that retro style of flipping the phone to answer a call,
Yeah, like the old Motorola
like the
phones,
Motorola
right?
flip
The
Those
feature
phones,
flips and
phones.
feature
yeah.
phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think for the sake of it, they are just buying it. Apart from that, I think it's all we are, you know, losing features. Actually, the flip phones have worse battery life. They
Yeah.
perform actually much
That's
less,
so true.
and also the cameras are housed very.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, if we compare to an like normal smartphone,
Yeah,
it doesn't really
perform
have those
better.
same features.
Yes,
Like it's a different thing to
yes.
have a
Flip.
foldable or a flip.
Yeah. And you also have that foldable failure.
Ah, yeah,
Yes.
that's that too. Like over the years, they're developing
Yeah.
new things. Like the hinges are getting better,
Better.
but it's a trial and error process.
Yeah. Trial and error
Yes.
Like
process.
people who buy the foldable now, uh, they might have to replace it after 2 or 3 years of use.
Yeah.
Yes.
And since it's mechanical, it's
Mm.
also prone to damage.
Damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dust and
So
water.
yeah, that's a drawback, but people still go for it who really needs it.
But I think here we also come to a point where people who are, used to before buying a premium phone and they used to use it for 1 or 2 years, then they used to switch it to the next flagship.
Uh-huh.
Like I have seen a lot of people who were using S21 Ultra and they shifted to S23 Ultra.
Mm.
Or they are using S23 and they are planning to shift to S25. So considering this, I don't think that flip phone is a problem for them. For these type of customers,
Yeah,
flip
I
phones is not
mean,
a problem.
for people who if money is not really a problem, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, nothing matters.
Because when we're talking about foldables and the flip phones, I personally don't see it as a premium smartphone. It's a luxury smartphone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Because it's very overpriced,
Yes.
right? And yeah, so the people who buy that, they're definitely not worried about the money.
Yes.
yeah,
Because it's now becoming more of a status symbol.
Yeah,
yeah,
And
that's that too. Yeah.
also, I think cheaper versions are also getting released,
Mhm.
and which is good.
Some companies are
Yeah,
really
like the
working on it.
OnePlus
Yeah. OnePlus had the fold, right?
Fold. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's great seeing them do that.
yeah, yeah. It's also, I think, with the design and everything, it's getting too stagnated.
Hmm.
Somewhere, the previous 3, 4 years, people were really pushing. At least the Chinese manufacturers, they were pushing their limits to innovate, and new models were there. Where from where we had the site-based fingerprint scanner,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, or under our phone we had
Yeah.
to the under, the under
Under in the
The
display
in
face.
in
display,
display
yeah,
we
yes.
have how it shifted to in display optical fingerprint scanner to the
Ultrasonic.
yeah,
Ultrasonic,
ultrasonic which we have in the
the
latest
Samsung.
Samsung
Mm.
phones, and even I think the OnePlus is also was also
Yeah, even the Vivo X200 Pro has it.
yeah,
And
ultrasonic.
it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is actually
ultrasonic
pretty
is
fast. Yeah.
responsive because optical means it will take the light and it
Yes.
will take a bit of time, but ultrasonic means it will send those signals
Mm.
very fast, those waves, the ultrasonic sound,
Mm.
and it will recognize easily, and it's more accurate your fingerprint,
Yeah.
which means if you have slight fingerprint issues, it will easily recognize.
Mm.
So all these design aspects where it used to come, but now what happens is that it's getting stagnated, and now only we can see people saying, here we have AI,
Mm.
so you buy this. Here we have added that AI.
Yeah.
So this is
Yes.
the newest update. And we have placed this camera here. What?
The last time, like I have a new phone, but before this, I owned a Poco F1.
Yeah,
Okay.
really good phone.
That was at that time, like if we are looking at innovations, it
Mm.
was actually a huge deal, right? Especially in the Indian market because um, it was providing the flagship features, like not everything,
The
but at
processor.
least the chipset. It
Chipset.
was providing that for the price range. It was under 25 gig.
Yes.
Yeah,
in
you
the
can
beginning.
easily game in that.
Yeah,
Mm.
and the Poco, it was really good. It had the face unlock, right? And it didn't use the camera. It was using an
Yeah.
IR sensor,
Yeah.
like, and that was pretty accurate. Like,
Yes.
even if it was pitch dark, we could just use it, and it was really secure. And the display wasn't that great. It was an
Correct.
LCD display, so that's the drawback, right?
Yeah, the
Like,
cost cutting
yeah,
part.
the cost cutting part, and it was a plastic bag,
Mm.
and uh, really huge bezels, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Big vessels.
that was the drawback. But the Poco, it was really good. Like, at that time, out of all the smartphones the other companies released, I was very um, interested in this one, right? Like,
Yes.
because so many features, and
Because from a
that's
performance standpoint, I
Mhm.
think the Poco F1 really did a very nice job.
Yeah.
Like with its aggressive pricing at that time,
Yeah.
I think it blew off the market competition.
Mm.
And also, while we are talking about the Poco F1, I think we have to discuss more about the other categories, not only the premium, but the mid-range, the
Yeah. So there
budget.
we come with the Chinese companies where they have different subgroups, you know.
Yes.
So many.
Yeah, so
It's
many
hard to keep
completed.
track.
They have released this Realme,
Mm.
and now recently this iQOO, which become a big hit, iQOO.
Yeah.
And I think somewhere Vivo or Oppo, they are planning to release another sub brand,
Hmm.
Mm.
and I don't understand why
Okay.
they're doing all this.
So I think it's mainly because to gain maximum, the capture of the market, like
Maybe.
through only a single brand, the reachability of that brand is actually limited. Like through word of mouth and
Mm.
even the marketing techniques. Like one brand just can't do it all, right?
Yeah.
So that's the main reason why these so many sub brands are evolving, and they also happen to perform very well in Indian markets at least.
Yeah.
So even considering the BBK group,
Mm.
like they have the Oppo, Vivo, OnePlus, and all of these sub brands have actually some thing which is marketed
Mhm.
for that company. Like Oppo is for selfies,
Mm.
Vivo is for great photography, and OnePlus is kind of an all-rounder,
Mm.
budget friendly.
OnePlus used to be known for its software.
Yeah,
We don't talk about that, man.
yeah, not
Yeah.
anymore. Colorless.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I think it is actually working pretty good for these companies creating all these sub brands, and even Xiaomi has
Mm.
a couple of sub brands.
Oh, yeah, even the Poco was.
Poco,
Yeah.
But
like
here we can also see that Samsung, they were, I think around 1 year back or 2 years back, they were the market leaders.
hmm,
They had captured the market from Xiaomi or whoever was holding Vivo or Oppo. Here we also see that Samsung, which doesn't have any sub brands,
hmm,
right? So they only have
Mm.
they have split into different series. If
yeah,
you have F series, M series, A series, I think it's available globally.
hmm,
But M series was the one which they hit at the rise point and they captured the market.
Mhm.
And that
In
prompted
India.
yeah, in
Mm.
India, and that prompted Flipkart to release the F series.
Mhm.
This is basically the M series rebranded version.
Mm.
And in the F series, you see M series, you see it's really budget oriented,
Mhm.
and it's really good. Everything is good, but only problem is you have ads. But
Mm.
where they kicked the wrong points is in the A series. A series used to be a really good product, and uh, I saw that A52. A52 was like a really well built product, and they all had they had the good display,
Mm.
Snapdragon processors, and that too, I think in the 7 series. It's pretty much useful, and it was at the correct price point. But the problem started when they started introducing their chipsets, Exynos chipsets. And I made the second mistake of my life with a phone. The first one was obviously Poco. The second is this A series. I bought an A33,
Mhm.
considering that I won't have much usage with the phone. So,
hmm,
but the problem started with the chipset. It simply started heating.
Oh.
It started having heating issues, and then you had to put on to automatic restart to optimize the process. and then only it would work. Otherwise, the whole phone would get stuck. And there were multiple bug updates. Like for one, I think now only recently they have perfected it. I think around 1.5 years they were continuously ongoing with that updates and everything. But what use it now? I think they will be releasing A55 soon. So A33.
I mean, it kind of forced you to get a new smartphone.
Yeah, somewhere around the line. But why did they you do that? And it's not cheap with these smartphones. Even if you have that Exynos chipset, this phone was not cheap. It costed me around close to 30,000, and that's not a cheap amount. If you, as per your definition, if you go a bit beyond it, which is 45,000, we go into the premium segment.
Yeah.
So then there is a minute difference.
Yeah, that's
So with this difference, I didn't find it worthwhile. And what are your views on that Exynos chipset? Because we have been talking about
Exynos
mostly.
chipset.
Like, I have to say, I'm sorry, Samsung, but Exynos, you did everything in the worst possible manner. Like,
Yeah,
I don't even think they have made a.
And this is not over the time span of 2 or 3 years.
correct.
Yeah,
It's like from way back.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
been a very long time, and they are long due for, really
Redemption.
making, the redemption of the
redemption.
Exynos.
We are all waiting for the redemption,
Yeah,
but it's not
because
happening.
I think Samsung really has a very positive take on the, because it's in-house made, and but still the competition, the global market with the other very efficient, powerful chipsets, like the Apple has its own A series of chipsets, the Bionics, the Snapdragon 8 series, and there is no way the Exynos can compete with any of these, even with the Tensor chipsets, like which Google
Yeah,
has,
Yeah, Google
Pixel
has.
phones.
Pixel phones have.
But there I appreciate Google because they initially released that chipset. It had a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Definitely.
They fixed it within 1 or 2 years and they released it further. But Exynos, I don't think what they're.
Yeah, I think Google, we have to give a comeback award for Google, because
Yeah.
even the case of Fold, the Pixel Fold, the first iteration got released last year, and God, that phone was, it had a lot of issues. Like, it looked very bad, it was very ugly.
It was the one which was very round.
Yeah, rounded
Yeah.
corners, and it had very thick bezels, and even the performance was very subpar. And also the tensor chipsets, they have kind of tweaked it, and the performance, from a performance standpoint, it has gotten really better over a very short period of time. So we have to give it to Google.
Yeah, but it's still not perfect yet.
It's not the
Because,
best,
yeah.
and it's not even
I
perfect.
mean, even with the new Pixels, I think there's still that the heating issues.
Yeah,
Still,
thermals are,
yeah.
they have yet to improve on that.
I feel that we have lost some sense of that legacy brands which we had. HTC and HTC, LG, and all those
Yeah.
brands which were there. It used to be really good, especially with those Sony phones. I don't know
Xperia.
why. Yeah,
Yeah.
Xperia.
Xperia,
I
so
don't know why they are now
I think
completely switched
Sony,
to.
even nowadays, they are releasing Xperia
Yeah,
smartphones.
but
It's ultra premium.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's
also
out of
it's
reach.
like I talked about the foldables being a niche
Yeah,
market, right? This is the ultra niche market.
yeah,
Yeah,
ultra niche market.
I think it's for that 1%.
Person.
It's like we wouldn't even get to see someone use that
Yes.
smartphone.
Yeah.
That's how rare.
But it was really good, the
Yeah.
smartphone.
Yes.
How that quality and everything which you had.
Yeah.
Just I don't find that same thing in this Chinese smartphones which has flooded the market. And because I think Samsung was trying to compete with these smartphones, they have also lost somewhere their quality and
Yeah, the standards
they
have
also
dropped.
yeah they also started compromising somewhere because previously I had an HTC phone and that phone amazing,
HTC
amazing.
was actually really good, because
Yeah,
I remember, I think this might be a common opinion because people might agree on this. The HTC One
Yeah, one.
with the dual speakers,
Yes, stereo
yeah,
I've
speakers.
used that because one of my relatives, she had that smartphone. I've got to use it plenty of times, and I was always satisfied with the phone.
Yeah.
Like it was like one of the what will you say? One of the perfect smartphones to be ever released. Yeah, like we don't get speakers like that today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with the innovation that LG went from
Yeah.
rotating display to
Yeah.
full.
Yeah, they had the one where
Yeah.
I remember that one.
But the problem was they went overly innovative
Yeah.
and it pushed them out of the market.
Yeah. Got exhausted.
That's where I think Samsung, they went at the right points.
Yeah.
Like speaking of innovations, personally, I've not seen and like the only smartphone over the past few years which has actually got my attention was the Nothing smartphone.
Mm.
Like not everyone might be very agreeing on this topic, right? Because
Yeah.
the Nothing, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. But for me, I saw, first of all, they had that glyph interface. I have it right here.
Yeah.
By the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, we have demo piece here.
So the glyph interface, at first I thought it might just be a gimmick. I mean, obviously there's this gimmick factor to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because we haven't seen an LED setup like this on a smartphone before.
Yes.
So I was wondering if it would actually be useful. Once I got the smartphone and I started using it, I actually started using the glyph interface too. Because
Okay.
while I'm working,
Yeah.
I would just flip my phone
Mm.
and it will automatically be on the do not disturb mode.
Mm.
And if there's anything like I've marked the essential apps, so if there's anything important, I'll know. Like the light will light up, like yeah. So over the past few years, only this smartphone has caught my attention. Nothing else has.
Yeah.
Uh,
There, I think for the previous years, what is becoming a standard in the market. For example, that we have that dot notch or the
oh,
drop
yeah.
notch,
Yeah. Yeah.
everything, all those notches, and all those
Water
other
drop.
features.
Yeah,
Yeah,
water drop notch.
all
Yeah.
those other features which he had. Even what happened was Apple used to bring it to the market, and then people used to adopt it, or the other companies used to adopt it, and then it used to get refined, and then it was sold. But uh,
That's
it
not
has
the
come,
case nowadays.
yeah, now also it has come to a point where Apple is not innovating,
Yeah.
and these companies are not doing anything.
Even they are struggling to bring standout features into the
Yeah,
market. Like obviously I think they are trying to perfect things in their own environment.
Yeah, they are, but uh, the iPhone 14 to the iPhone 15, right, was not really a huge difference. Like,
yeah, huge.
as for the camera performance, I think there was a noticeable difference. But other than that, the performance wise, I don't see much of a
Yeah,
difference.
there's not
And I
much
also
difference.
think they just gave it with the same chipset. Like there was not even
Mm.
Yeah,
change in
yeah,
the
yeah,
chipset.
I think so. And the only benefits we consumers get is that if the iPhone 16 gets released, during a Big Billion Day sale, we'll be able to get the iPhone 15 or the
15, the
14 for
previous
much
one.
cheaper price.
Yes.
That's the only plus
Yeah,
point I
and I
can
saw
see.
also one thing like they recently released their iPhone 16, I believe, recently
Uh-huh.
with AI features,
Yes.
and these AI features are available only in iPhone 16.
Yeah.
You can't go to the previous
It's
version.
actually not even available. It's not yet ready.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It
they,
has to
they,
come.
and
they
I heard,
gradually.
Yeah,
yeah,
gradually add up to it.
and I heard like it was because of the RAM issue. They don't have that RAM which was there in the
Yes.
previous version. It used to have a lower RAM, iPhone 15 and all. 16 they had higher RAM.
Higher RAM.
But at the same time, what Google did was they had bought AI features and they gave very high RAM. You had the option of selecting 16 GB, 24 GB, and all those. And then it was shifted to this. So, which means that even in future, if they push out a major AI update, if you buy that 24 GB or if you buy that 16 GB, you have the option of receiving that update.
Yes.
But now we don't have.
I think the main issue with Apple iPhones that they've always been very hesitant to increase their battery capacity, the amount of RAM. So when comparing to like Android phones, like here the base RAM variant would be 8 GB, right?
Yeah.
But for the
Yeah,
iPhones, it's like the toppest version would be having like 6 GB or
6 GB, yeah, 4 GB.
and that for very highly computational tasks like for AI performance, they'll all apart from that neural cores that they need, RAM is also a very important part.
Yeah, because it's all offline in
Yeah,
the device.
and what Samsung in case the AI features can also be will also be introduced into the previous lineup, like the
Yeah.
S23 series. But the same will not be possible with Apple.
Apple, yeah.
Like they only can focus
On the future
on the
smartphones.
future
Future smartphones.
smartphones.
I
So
think that's one way of for them to tell people that you have to update from iPhone 15 to 16. You have to update from iPhone 16 to 17
yes,
I
to ensure that the updates
I
go.
think like abroad, people are very used to this thing. Like,
yeah,
like
Yeah,
switching from the old iPhone to the new iPhone.
one
If they
flagship to the
just
next
go
one.
to the Apple store, they
yes,
hand over their old smartphone. The employee, they'll transfer that. They
Yeah,
data.
like it's not even a huge change for them.
Mm.
They'll pay an extra premium for
yeah,
the new one.
Yes.
yeah,
Get the new smartphone.
yeah.
For them, they're very used to
Used to
that
it.
concept. Like,
So here I also want to talk about this quality issues which you're facing right now. So I initially had a Poco, and uh, first I had a Motorola phone.
which one was it? Which model was it?
Yeah, first I'll talk about the Moto which I had. So initially I had a Moto and G4, I believe, and it was a really good smartphone. And only issue I faced was I used to, put it in my pocket, and somewhere I think I might have used it in, while climbing the bus or something. It might have been tight in the pocket, and that's why I think a green lane developed. But since it was within warranty, I told the service and they replaced it. But with the Poco, I faced the major issue, Poco X2.
X2.
Yeah, and
The motherboard issue.
yeah, one day I had the phone, I plugged it for charging, and the next day I opened it. No, I plugged it for charging. I removed the charger. Touch is not working. I was shocked. All my contents, everything is in the phone. But luckily, I also had a future thought. So I put an SD card and I transferred most of my contents in that. But still, some of my photos and everything was there. I didn't know what to do. I called the service center. They told to bring it to them and all those. So then I took to a local service center. They told that hardware has gone. It's the motherboard issue, and with the motherboard issue, your contents are also gone.
Oh.
You can't store anything. You can't do anything. Then what I did was I took it to the service center. Maybe because it's a motherboard issue, they will have to do something because it's an issue from their part. It
Yes,
shouldn't
yes.
happen. That too for a new phone. I think it was just past that 1 year up. Yeah, it was new, pretty new. It was relatively good phone except that issue, and they told they will give an F1. But F1 at that time, it was really old phone.
Yeah.
I think it was around 5, 6 years old at that time when I had that X2. And it was no, I didn't feel that right. To be receiving an F1, it might have been also been a used one.
Yeah.
They don't manufacture it.
Also, if you want to get the motherboard fixed, I think companies usually charge like
Yeah,
80% of the smartphone
yeah,
actual cost.
yeah. So I talked to them and they told if you want to change this motherboard, it will cost this much amount, or they will offer a replacement, which is F1. None of those both options fitted for me. Then somehow I went into this issue that all these Chinese smartphones, somewhere or the other point, they will cause an issue, and that's how I shifted to the A33. That was
And even that
another
is
mistake.
a
Yeah.
mistake.
That
So
was a horrible mistake.
one mistake to another mistake.
Yeah.
But why don't we have that quality before where we had those HTC, HTC, LG, Sony, all those phones,
Even
they
the
were,
Huawei smartphones too.
yeah, at that point. Those won't tell it was the perfect as those HTC,
Yeah,
Sony, but it was really good.
yeah.
But how did we move from those having those phones to, you know, I think Greenland issue is now as common as
Yeah, it's
people
very
having,
common.
yeah,
Almost all the brands have those
it's
It's
kinds.
like catching a virus.
yeah, having
That's how
people,
common it
yeah,
is.
as common as people catching virus. It's so common that OnePlus had to issue a Greenland warranty for
Warranty
lifetime.
for life.
How?
By the way, that's a very good move.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good move from their part actually.
Because the other manufacturers have been pretty silent about it.
Yeah.
yeah,
And talking about the quality issues, I should say, like every company,
mm,
even the premium flagship phones from Apple, Samsung, every smartphones of every of all kinds and budget presently can face such issues.
yeah,
Like
correct.
the display issues going wrong, the motherboard, faulty motherboards. And I think the main reason is that the production rates are at an all-time high now. So companies are actually kind of compromising. I believe it is in on purpose
Okay.
because
Because a lot of people told me that about Poco.
hmm,
I think around three or four people they told that they had Poco and how it was their few of their motherboards also failed.
hmm,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I've
two
had
people, two or three.
cousins who told me even the X series. I think
Yeah,
it might have been the X2.
X2.
yeah,
And
X series. How does a motherboard fail? If it's some software update triggered, fine. It's yeah,
yeah,
it might have been some issue with the software
Yeah.
team,
it's
something, something.
definitely the quality issues.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
this is
quality
definitely
checks
manufacturing
are
issue.
not being
Mm.
properly
I
conducted.
mean, the X2 compared to the premium smartphones, it's way cheaper. But
Cheaper.
Yeah,
when we get a smartphone like that, how much was it? Like 20 something, right?
Yeah, it's in
yeah,
that
Yeah.
yeah.
bracket.
It
When
was
we spend 20,000, we don't really expect that smartphone's
no.
motherboard to fail, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was not 20. It was actually somewhere close to 30.
30. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
X2.
X2.
Yeah, I think after 1 year, the price had dropped, I
Yeah,
think.
it had dropped
Yes.
to 20, around 20. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's another thing about these smartphones, right? Like I don't know if it's the case with the Poco. When we go to that 30, below the 30K range, these smartphones tend to have all these advertisements inside the software, right?
Yeah, that was a trend which everyone used to go with the
Mm.
bloatware, the permanent apps which you can't uninstall,
Yeah,
and the series of apps which are installed but you can uninstall.
Yes, but
it's also
I think
like
there are very few standout players in that category. Like I think Moto
Yeah,
yeah,
never,
Moto is pretty stock.
yeah,
Moto
Like
they
X one.
never did.
I think nowadays they are introducing some apps, just not
Mm,
like it's not any games or anything,
Mm,
but it's just normal apps, I think.
mm,
But that's we can uninstall.
Yes,
yeah,
No
yeah,
ads, so
yeah.
that's a good point.
But their design nowadays it's completely different, and the
yes,
screens are
Yeah,
more
very
vivid
good.
and clear.
Yes,
Motorola is actually making a comeback, like
yes,
because
definitely.
for a few years it was actually not really like I think the G4 that you had,
Yeah,
it had that fingerprint on a button, right?
yeah,
Mm,
I
button.
remember that smartphone. It was actually a pretty good
Yeah,
smartphone.
it was really good.
And after that, they had released some modular smartphone, something like that,
Yeah,
which we
something.
could attach
Yeah,
a
we can
screen
attach.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had those. What is it called? They use some name. We can
Mm.
use it as a clip-on with some magnetic,
Yeah.
and you can
It
it can
had those
automatically.
contact points bearing
Yeah,
mm,
you can attach it as a projector, and you can
Yeah,
attach it
exactly.
as a
That's the
charger.
one.
Those are all
Yeah, those were
much
just
future.
innovations, back
yes,
then.
Yeah,
And
that
then
projector thing, it really hit me.
yeah,
yes.
and after that, I think the Motorola smartphones, it was not really working out
Working.
Mm.
much, but nowadays, yeah, it's actually good. And even with I think you mentioned it before, like with the flip phones and all.
Yeah, Razer.
Motorola had this flip phone, which
Yeah,
was
yeah,
for like 40,000 or something.
Yes,
yeah.
Compared to the Samsung flip, it's like half the
half the
price.
price.
Half the piece. So that's all we wanted to discuss with this podcast. So until we meet again, bye guys.
Bye.
Like,
Thank
share,
you.
and subscribe.